Good afternoon. My name is Logan Burris. Today I'll be going over my management recommendations for the Eberville Parish property. So overview, I'll be going over some of the easements and my recommendations for the easements, sustainable forestry, your white-tailed deer objective, black bears, and other hunting opportunities, chestnut and black walnut, and recreation. So for easements, I recommend putting this back farm and farmland pasture area into a wetland mitigation bank, and we're going to restore it to bottomland hardwood type. Nearby mitigation banks, including there's one right over here on this side of the property. They got accepted and they were sold in 10 years, and they sold each credit for $80,000 a credit. So this area of land is about 100 acres, and you probably get a 1.5 to 2.5 credits acres per credit. So that'll give you in the range of $3 to $5 million. And the alternative would be place the entire property into wetland mitigation bank, although you will get more credits. You won't be allowed to do any sort of clear cuts. There'll be pretty strict limitations on what you can do with the property besides regular thinning. And I think this will give you the most bang for your buck. So the current forestry status is there's sugarberry, green ash, and oak are the main predominant species on the property. The basal area, which is basically how much area in like a cross section, if you were to cut the tree, how much total feet squared there is per acre. So we have 93 here, and if you see on the side, it says if you have greater than 90 feet squared per acre, you probably need to do some management, maybe some thinning, remove some of the trees. And removing the trees, which is what I would recommend doing, is a thinning and maybe some group selection, cutting. We're going to remove some of the lower class, not so great trees, and allow the better trees to grow even better. It'll remove some of the competition. And because there's so many trees there, it's really blocking out most of the sunlight. And so the mid-story and understory really aren't developed. And so if we get more sunlight there, it'll really help your wildlife. So for your trophy deer objective, you do have a lot of deer on the property. This is a screenshot from a video, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deer just in this picture. There was probably 12 more in the video. You can see they're crossing into the other properties. You probably not going to be able to achieve trophy deer without high fencing because of the amount of movement these animals make throughout the various properties around here. And for trophy deer, you really have to control the population and the habitat, or you have to have much larger section of property in order to really confirm that you're going to have trophy deer. So the strategy I would recommend to try and pull some of the deer from the other properties during deer season is this thinning is really going to help let the oaks grow up and produce more acorns. And the group cuts are going to make some more cleared areas, give us some more edge habitat, which deer love, and also a perennial food plot. So this would be a plot where the plants really grow, and you don't ever have to you don't have to plant them every year. You just plant them. And I recommend clovers for this because deer love clovers. The alternative to this is you could fence the property to prevent the deer from moving in and out, and you could very much control the population. So for recommended management, I recommend you thin out a lot of this. We're going to thin out most of this in the purple, and the red, we're going to do some clear cuts, create some more edge habitat, have some early successional stuff start to grow up, and that's what deer love. That's what they're known to inhabit and be one of their favorite habitats, is this edge habitat. And also in this mitigation bank, grows into a forest, that will also provide a lot more habitat for the deer. So just look at this bottomland hardwood map. You can see right here, this is the Mississippi alluvial valley right here. And if you go forward, you can see that right here, black walnut range is not in this not in this. And so it could be on maybe some other sites, but not in this one specifically. Our soil data really showed that both black walnut and American chestnut are not viable for this property. I would, if you're looking for quality wood, I would recommend maybe cherry bark because they will grow into a large tree and produce some more acorns for your wildlife. And it's also a very like quality wood. Now, American chestnut, this is more towards the conservation side. The disease is not cured, and there's not very many trees viable to be able to even move down here if the soil's not going to work. But one tree you could consider is the green ash. It's being affected by this little beetle down here. This is the emerald ash borer, and that's really doing a number on the green ash trees. So you could work on conservation. You already have green ash all over your property. It will grow very well. So for your black bears, there's really not enough land in this area to support black bears. Although bottomland hardwood forest is habitat for black bears, the home range for bears are on the order of 50 to 40 square miles, and you simply do not have that on this property. This little square just shows an area of about 28 square miles. So you could see that you would need this much habitat to maybe even house 1 to 2 bears. And so it's definitely not viable on a piece of property this size. Although there are some other animals on your property that you may be interested to see. Feral hogs, definitely huntable, and I would recommend you shoot them if you see them. Get rid of them. They can cause damage to your property. You can see some damage to the stream area right here. They can increase disease, and they can even introduce disease into the water bodies, which is very dangerous, especially if you plan on swimming in some of the ponds. And they reproduce like crazy. They can produce 1 to 14 piglets in every litter, and can have a litter 3 times in 2 years, or 1.5 in 1. Another thing that you'd be able to hunt, we did not actually see these on the property, but swamp rabbits, they will be habitat available for them with some of the forestry practices. And now, what do we do with this water? Pond 1, which is down here, I recommend putting a water control. We're going to drain it, dig it out, bring some sand in, and make it more of like a little beachy pond, and it'll help remove the muck, make it easier to access, make it more comfortable, more recreational. Pond 2, I'm going to put water control, dig it out a little bit, make it a little deeper, and add a few felled trees to increase some of the fish habitat. This is pond 2. This is pond 1. And for pond 3, I don't recommend recreation as in fishing or trying to swim in there. It's probably 2 feet deep in the at the most, and so I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of things besides putting a water control. We'll be able to clear out some of the culverts that are up in here and are improperly flowing, and we'll be able to turn this into waterfowl habitat. And over here in the wet depression, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to clear it, dig it out, add a water control structure, and turn it into waterfowl habitat for some duck hunting. Also, these pizza slices are one of the most interesting things you have on your property. What we're going to do, there's currently 3 separate sections, and in the middle here, they all have berms in between them. And they have cypress and tupelo in there, but I would recommend putting a water control structure in there, maybe joining these 2 together, making a larger area that you can control the water for, and leaving this one as it is, because there are some ducks in there, and the wood ducks we saw probably 5 or 6 wood ducks without even looking for them. So they're definitely in there, and you could definitely find them. You could just leave it as it is. With that, it wouldn't be terrible habitat for ducks, but it can be improved. Or you could remove all the berms and just focus on forestry and just kind of return that to its flat natural landscape. So in summary, I would enter this land into a mitigation bank, but only partially. I'm going to do some thins and clear cuts to promote some deer habitat and turkey habitat and grow some healthier trees. for even more forestry in the future. And then the addition of water control structures and changing some of the water and hydrological regimes for the waterfowl. And we're going to add some cherry bark oak for some expensive wood and maybe some green ash and extend the live oak pathway along the road to give you an even longer oak alley. Thank you.